Hello and welcome to this website editor training with myself. Today I'm just going to talk you through how you can update and manage your website through the editor system. Now the editor system that we've got is really user friendly and really easy to use and update yourself, so this training should be quite straightforward. Now like I said, I'm just going to give you an overview. The editor system can be quite in-depth, but this training is just going to help you get a better understanding of different functionalities of the editor and where the different aspects are that will help you obviously edit the design and functionality. Okay, so we're starting off on this screen here, which is the dashboard. So once you have logged in, after you've been provided with appropriate link, this is the screen that you will come onto. This is basically where you can then access the actual website editor itself. Now the more websites that you have access to editing, they will all be in this same dashboard. Okay, so that just basically means that you won't need a different login for each of your websites. They will all appear in here. Okay, so I'm going to basically just go over a few things in this training today. You may see that I am going to skip over some buttons. If you do see this, please don't be too worried. The reason that I'm probably doing that is because I don't feel like that button is going to be necessary to you at this time. But if I do feel that at a later date, obviously that might help you, then I can go through that with you at a later stage. But for the purpose of this training and start off, it's really not something that you're going to need to worry about. So like I said, if I do skip over anything, please do not worry. Okay, so you can see here we've got the thumbnail of the website we're going to be editing. Obviously, when this is your website, it will be a thumbnail of your website. We've got the name of the website here. Underneath it says URL. This is where, once your website is live, the live domain will be featured. Then over here we've obviously got the edit button. We've got a preview button so we can see how it's going to look or how it does look. And then once the website is live, you will see there will also be a third button featured over here. And that button will be called Stats. And that's basically where you can see analytics for your website and see how it's performing. Okay, so now obviously in this training it is going to be an overview of the editor system. So I'm just going to obviously go into the editor system itself by clicking on this edit button. You can also access the editor just by clicking over here on the website or the thumbnail. So let me get right into it and we'll go into the edit option. Now that's just going to load up. Okay, so as that's loading up, as you can see, it will load up your website and then it will load up a few different tabs around the edges. Okay, so I'm first of all just going to talk you through this top bar up here and any buttons or functionalities that might be of use to you. Okay, so the first one we've got here is, as you can see, it says home and it's got like a little drop down arrow. Now if I select that, it brings up a drop down of all the pages or sub pages within our website. Okay, so what I can do here is I can just click on one of the pages within the website and it will take me to this page, so now that I can obviously edit that. Now you can see in the top it is now changed what it's called, so obviously it said home before and now it says the services, so it just lets us know what page we are on. So this is just a quick little navigation tool which can take you to the different pages within your website. So next to that we've got these three device icons up here, and you can see that at the moment we've got the desktop view and edit little icon highlighted blue, and that just means that we are currently editing the desktop version of the site. If I was to click on the other icons next to that, you can see then that it takes me into the tablet and mobile versions of the editor. So this just means I can edit how my website is going to look on the desktop, tablet and mobile separately. Don't be too alarmed. This doesn't mean that you have to build 3 separate websites for each device. You will build a website or make any changes or edits on the desktop version, and those edits or changes will automatically carry across to the tablet and mobile. So this just means that anything you do on here will just be on the 3 devices. Now, the reason that you've got the other devices and you can edit them separately is simply because if you design or create something on the tablet version, it may not always look right when you go to the tablet and mobile. Now, the reason for this is obviously because the decrease in screen size, layout or functionalities can sometimes be disrupted and may look a little bit disjointed. So my advice would be, if you do make any edits or changes to the desktop version of the site, I would always recommend just checking it on the tablet and mobile as well, just to make sure that it all looks okay. You can then obviously go into the mobile version, and if something doesn't look right, you can obviously edit that separately on this device, so you can make it look appropriate depending on which device you use. So always just remember, if you do make any changes or edits before those changes or edits go live, always just remember to check them on the 3 devices. Okay, so as I go along, we've also got an undo and redo button here. So this just means that if you do make any mistakes on the website or you do want to get something back, you have got the option to undo or redo your last edits. Now, if something does go very wrong, which sometimes it can, obviously you want to try and avoid making too many mistakes, but if something does go wrong, which obviously, yeah, it can do, we do have some backup versions of the website as well, so we can back it up to the last live version of your website, and then obviously we can just undo any little errors then. Okay. We've also got a preview button here at the top of the screen. This, if you just click on this, it just takes you into a preview version of the website. And this just means that you can test any functionalities or buttons just to make sure they work before you go live. So you can see how it's going to look and respond when it is a live version of the website. Okay, so continuing, you can see up here that I've got a little blue button that says publish. Now, once your website is live, this button will actually say republish. So once you make any changes or amendments to your website, you always have to remember to press republish, or those changes won't appear on the live version of the website. Now, any changes or anything you do make in the editor will save automatically to the editor version of the website. So when you come back into the editor, those amendments and changes will still be there. However, you may notice that if you go onto a live version of the website, those changes or amendments don't appear and your website hasn't updated. And that's simply because you haven't pressed the republish button. So if you do want changes to go live and you are happy with them, always just remember to press that republish button, and then obviously it will put those changes and amendments live. And then lastly, on this top bar, you can see here in the left hand corner we've got this little home icon, and this home icon basically just takes us back to the editor dashboard, so we can obviously access any of the sites that we want to, and it just takes us out of the editor system for this specific website. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to the home page of the website. So next I'm just going to talk you through this right hand bar down here on the side. Now you can see that there's a range of different tabs, and each of these tabs will do different things within the website. So first of all, if I go to the Design tab here at the top, if I just click on that, you can see that it brings up another list of options. Now you can see that the top 4 options have the word global included in them. Now this word global basically means the preset design features for the whole of the site. Okay, so whatever is set in these global tabs is what the design will look like throughout the whole site for that specific aspect. So for instance, if I go into this global text button up here at the top and I just select that, it will take me into the option for global text. Now you can see here that we've got the paragraph example here at the top, and if I scroll down, we've also got our header tags. So we've got H1 tags all the way through to your H6 tags. So basically I can preset the design that I want to carry across throughout the whole website. So I'm just going to show you how this works. So if I just scroll down my website here, you can see that we've got a paragraph featured here. And if I scroll down further, there are also some paragraphs set throughout the rest of that page. Okay, so if I just go into paragraph example in my global design, and I go to the font option, I can bring up this little font drop down so I can select which font I want to use. So if I want to change the font, I'm just going to select a font at random that I want to change my paragraph font to. And you can see now that on the website that paragraph font has changed. Now if I come out of that and I scroll down the rest of the website, you can see now that the paragraph font for each section has changed. Okay, so I have changed the paragraph font setting across the whole website. Okay, so if I just undo that, so I just can get the original font back. Now, the only time that the global settings do not work is if you have manually edited that font yourself. Okay, so if I just go into this paragraph font here, you can see that as I hover my mouse over the top, I get a box around it, which means I can select it, and I just click on that font. I can then highlight this font. You can see that a toolbar now appears up here, so I can change all the different features of the font. So if I go to my font type and I just scroll down and select that font again, you can see that it has changed that paragraph font there. So I'm just going to press the tick because I am happy with that change. But if I then go down the rest of the site, you can see that the paragraph font has not changed for the other paragraphs, okay? And that's because I have manually edited that specific paragraph separately, so I've overwritten those global settings. So now if I was to go back into the global settings and change the paragraph text, all the paragraph text would change apart from this one, because obviously again I have manually overwritten the preset font design for that paragraph. Okay, so I'm just going to undo that so I can get the font back to the original font. Okay, so that's now done. So that's basically how global settings work. Okay, now as you can see, we've also got global buttons, images and rows. So with buttons, you can preset a button design so that anytime you add a button widget onto your website, it will follow that exact set design. Okay, again, unless you go into the button on the editor and manually change it. With images, you can change the different shapes of your images, and you can preset the size that you want any images to be, and so on. And then similarly for rows, you can have a preset design for a row, so every time you add a new row onto the website, it will follow that preset design. So that's basically what the global settings are. Okay, so moving away from the global settings, we've also got this button on the design tab for site background. So if I was just to go into this, you can see that it also brings up some different options for the site background. So I can set a site background for all pages, or I can have a separate background per page. Okay, so if I just go into background for all pages, you can see at the moment that we've got a background colour selected, and this is this white colour. Okay, so that's what my background colour for this page is set as. I can also select a background image. So if I just go into image there, I can then go into my image picker, and then I can scroll down and select an image that I want to use for the background of the site. Okay, so I'm just going to select that one, for example, and you can now see that behind there, that background image has now changed. Okay, so it's no longer that white background, it is now just a background image. Now, the reason that you might want a background image is obviously at the moment that text and whatnot might not be as readable. So if I was just to go into the row, so this is the little row tab up here in the left hand corner. So if I was just to click on that, I can then go down to Edit Design. I can then choose a background colour for that row specifically. So I'm just going to go into there and select white. So you can now see that the background for that row specifically has changed. And then I can simply edit the transparency. Okay, so if I increase the transparency, you can see that the row becomes see-through, and then as I decrease it, you can see that the background colour is just showing more, and that's how I can change the opacity. And you can now see that you can see that background image behind, but that means you can just read the text a little bit clearer. Okay, so that's basically why you might want to have a background image. It just can create some nice little design features. Obviously, I can hide that background image in some places as well by just selecting a background colour, and then just have it show in behind some other little rows as well. Okay, so I'm just going to go back into my site background and change that back. So I'm just going to delete that background image, and my colour is already set as white, so that's fine. And then obviously I can have a site background per page as well. So I could have a different background colour or different background image per page on the website. Okay, so that's basically how the site background works. So next I'm going to go on to this little option at the bottom, and this is called the tablet and mobile layout. And this is basically how the menu is going to appear on the tablet and mobile device for your website. So currently at the moment you can see that we've got this one selected here for tablet and this one selected for mobile. Now the reason that you might have different menu options for your tablet, mobile and even desktop is because different menus obviously will work differently in terms of usability for your customers on the different devices. Okay, so something that works on the desktop and tablet probably will not work on the mobile, again due to reduced screen size and in terms of customer usability. Okay, so if I just go into the tablet version of the website here, you can see that the navigation is the same as it is on the desktop. However, if I then go onto the mobile view, you can see that we've got these three little lines, and if I select them, it brings up a little side menu for the website. Okay, so that just works better in terms of being less obstructive on the page for the mobile device, because obviously we've got less space to work with, and that seems to be the most popular option for customer usability. Okay, so I could also change the tablet view to be exactly the same as the mobile menu. And then with the mobile, I've also got some other little menu options as well that I can choose from. So obviously if you did want a different menu design, there is the option to do so. Okay, so that's the end of the design tab. So I'm just going to continue. So next we've got this tab here, which is the Pages tab. Okay, so if I just select that, you can see that it brings up a list of the pages again in our website. And obviously this one's got a little drop down because we've got some subcategories. But this is basically, again, another way to navigate through the website. So I can just click on one of these. And again, it takes me to that specific page in the website editor. Okay. Now you may notice that at the minute my little Pages tab at the side has got a little glitch on it. Now that won't be on yours, so please do not worry. You can see that we've got this little button here for add site languages. On your website editor it will be down here at the bottom, but mine obviously just fancies sitting up there, so that's really quite helpful. But as I say, don't worry too much, because yours will be featured down here and you'll be able to access all the pages fine. Okay, so you can see here that on the Pages tab we've got this option here to add a new page. So if I click on that, you can see that it brings up some template designs for a new page. So if there's something specific that I want to add, like a contact us page, obviously there's a preset template there. Or I can just add a blank page and build a new page from scratch. So those are the options that you've got there to add a new page to your website. For each of the pages within your website, you've got a little cog icon that features on the right hand side of that little Page tab. So if I just click on this little settings cog here, you can see that it brings up a little menu option. Okay, so this just means that I can do some different features. Okay, so say for the About Us page, I might want to rename it. So I can go into this little cog icon, I can go to rename, and I can change the name of this page to our company, for example. And if I rename that, you can see now that in the top navigation, that page now has been renamed. Okay. So we've also got some options that we can do. So say for instance, obviously this website here has got a blog. But for example, say we hadn't written any blog posts yet. So we know we want a blog page on our website, but we haven't got any content to populate that yet. So I can simply hide that blog page on my website. So I just click on the little cog icon and I go to hide in navigation. I can hide it on a specific device if I want to, or I can just hide on all. And you can see now that in the top navigation of our website, that blog page has disappeared. Now, I can still access that page, so if I just click on this page here within the Pages tab, you can see that I can still get to that page, I can still edit it, I can make changes to it, I can start adding posts and populating it with content. But it just means that my customers won't be able to access that page, so only people that have access to the editor will be able to access this blog page. Okay, so once this page I'm happy with it and I want it to go live and appear on the live version of the website, I can just go back onto this little cog icon here and I can go back to hide in navigation, and then I can go across to show on all. and you can see now that blog page has now appeared again in the navigation, which ultimately means that my customers are obviously going to be able to access that again. Okay, so we've also now got the option to duplicate a page, and this is basically how we can copy and paste a page. Okay, so say I want to add a new page to my website, and I want to basically copy the design structure for a page that's currently already on my website. Okay, so I don't want to have to rebuild that page from scratch and add all the rows in and just copy the page. I just want to be able to duplicate a page that I've already got laid out and set up on my website, so I can just redesign and repopulate the content. So if I was just to go onto this little cog icon here, I've decided that I'm really happy with the layout of the services page. So I want to duplicate it, so I'm just going to press duplicate down here. And I want to obviously name this page, okay? So say for instance, this company was going to offer social media. So I might just rename it social media. And I'll just duplicate this page. Okay, so you can see it's added it up there in the navigation. I might not want it to appear after the contact us page, so I'm going to want to redesign the layout and order of these pages here in the navigation. So to do that, I can just simply click on the page that I want to move. I'll hold it down, and then I can just drag it and place it where I want to. I can also create it as a sub page from another page by just bringing it to the right slightly, and it will create that sort of step effect, and that just means then that will be a sub page of a page that you've previously got on the website, and that would just mean that if I went and hovered over that in the navigation, you can see that it brings that sub page down. But obviously I don't want this to be a sub page, so I'm just going to hold that again and bring it back round, and then I just want to place it here after services, okay, between services and blogs. So I'm just going to drop that in there, and you can see now that it's just moved that in the navigation right there. So I've just restructured that and reordered it a little bit to be a little bit more user friendly. Okay, so obviously I can click on that page now, and it's going to take me into my social media page, and you can see up here with the little drop down that we've got, that's the page that we're currently on. But obviously it still says services because it is a duplication of that services page. So I can then just go in and I can repopulate it with the appropriate content. Okay, like so. Now I can change the text, change the images, change the subcategories to whatever is appropriate, for example, and I'm just building that new page. If I do go back to the services page now, however, you can see that that page is still exactly the same, so it won't affect that page. They are now two completely separate pages, but they obviously just follow the same design. Okay, so that's how duplicating a page may come in useful. Okay then, so if I go up to the social media page that I've just created, okay, so one of the other options we've got on this little cog settings icon is the SEO. So if I just click on that, you can see that at the moment we have no SEO populated in there. Okay, so SEO basically stands for Search Engine Optimization, and this is basically how you are going to appear on your search engines. Now this obviously, the most popular search engine out there is Google, but this works for all other search engines as well. So obviously you do want to come across well on Google search engines, so if a user types a keyword in, hopefully your website will appear, and they will be able to click on your website basically and get through to it from that search engine. Okay, there are a lot of companies out there that offer different SEO packages that might help you increase your number on a search engine result, so you may be able to appear higher in the results, and there are a lot of different companies that offer SEO packages. It is quite a complex thing, however, and it does take a lot of work to appear better in search engines. Okay, so, but for the purpose of your website, we will always populate the SEO for you. Okay, so we will always just do a little basic SEO sweep. So if I am to go into page title, this is the title that obviously is going to appear when somebody searches for you in Google. Okay, so for this website, for example, we may have AA Marketing. And then I'm just going to pop a little divider in there, and then I'm just going to type in social media, as this is the page that I'm editing the SEO for. You can edit the SEO separately for each page within your website. Okay, so then I'm just going to add a little page description in. So a basic page description might be okay, so that's what my description is going to be in there. Now, with your description, you want to make sure that it's completely relevant to your page within your website and contains keywords that are featured on that page in the website and that you're going to feature down here in the keywords. It must be relevant, and the more relevant your SEO is to your website, the more Google will reward you and you will appear higher in search rankings. Okay, so obviously page keywords for this, I would go through the copy of the page on this website and just take keywords from there, but obviously this is just an example and we haven't actually written the copy yet. So I'm just going to show you basically an example of how that would work. So I might put the company name in there, I might put social media, social networking, digital marketing, marketing, for example, conversions, business, and so on. Okay, so I would just add the keywords for that page in there. And the way that these keywords also work is if a user searches for these words or more or a few of these words, then somewhere in the search results your website will be featured, and the more relevant it is and the more keywords included, obviously the more likely you are to appear higher in the search results. Okay, so that's basically how SEO works. Now, as I did mention, we do always just do that basic SEO sweep for you, so this will already be populated with appropriate content. Now, the only reason that you might want to go in and edit the SEO is obviously if you added a new page to your website, that SEO will need to be added. So if you just follow those instructions and do something similar, or if some text has been taken off or added to a page, you might want to amend the SEO for that page to include or remove any keywords or change the description of the page. Okay, so Obviously there you can, you've got the option to edit and amend your SEO or add new SEO if you've added a new page. Okay, so that's basically how that works. We've also got the page URL. So obviously I changed this name of this page to our company. So if I just go into the settings tab and I go to page URL, you can see that here in the top bit here it says page URL, and it currently still says about, okay, because that's what the page was originally. So what would basically happen is, say for instance the domain for this website that I'm working on at the moment was www.aamarketing.co.uk. For when somebody is on this page, the Our Company page, currently it will say www.aamarketing.co.uk/about. But obviously I've changed the name of that page, so I'm just going to want to change this page URL. So I'm going to change it to Our Company. Okay, so now when somebody goes onto this page on the website, it will say www.aamarketing.co.uk/our-company. Okay, so this also just helps improve your website's SEO, because again it makes it more relevant and links exactly to the copy and content of that page in the website. And obviously it just looks a little bit more professional. Okay, so that's basically the page URL in there. Now it is advised, once you have set that and it has gone live, to try and avoid changing it, because Google would then have to do another SEO sweep over your website, and that may take some time and you may lose your position in search rankings. Okay, so if I just continue, you can see also in the little settings tab that we've got here, we've got the option to set a password. Now the reason that setting a password might come in useful is if you or one of your clients has a membership program, for instance, they might want a page on their website that contains specific resources for those members, okay? So they want a page that only members can access. So if they go onto pages and they go onto this little settings tab, they can then set a password, okay? So once they've set a password, they can choose what that's going to be. So obviously if I just show you how that works, they would choose what password it's going to be, they would save that password, and then they can supply that chosen password to members. So when somebody that's a member goes to click on that page on the website, obviously it will request a password to gain access, and they can just type in that supplied password. Okay, and then obviously if we want to delete a page on the website, we've also got the option there to go onto the settings tab, and you can see there we've got the delete button, and then obviously it will just ask us, are you sure you want to delete this page? And you can then select that. Okay, so that's basically the pages section of the website. So I'm just going to go back to the home page. Okay, so the next tab that I'm going to talk you through is this widgets tab here. Okay, so if I just click on that, you can see that it brings up a load of different widgets that we can use on our website. And all of these widgets have different features and functionalities that we can use. We can also search for widgets here in the top. So say for instance I wanted to add a YouTube video, I can type YouTube into the search bar and it will bring up the option for a video. I can put that into the website and then link a YouTube URL into that, and it will then play that video. So if I just get rid of that search result, so you can see that there are many different widgets that you can choose from within your website. We've got them all categorized into different subcategories based on their functionality, okay? So whatever you're looking for, you can look down the subcategories and find the appropriate widget for your task. Okay, so So if you want to add a widget into the website, what you simply do is you choose where you want to add it. So say for instance I just want to add another button into this section here. I can go onto widgets, I can either type in button at the top or I can find it in one of the subcategories. Now button is a popular widget, so it is in the frequently used section. So if I just hold down this button widget, I simply click it and I drag it into the website, and I can drag that button now to where I want it to sit in the website. And then once I've decided, I can just let go. And as you drag the widget, you will see that obviously it will highlight in that blue box where you can insert it, and it will say insert here. So you can choose then, based on that where that blue box is sitting, where you're going to drop that widget. Okay, so for every widget on the website, you've got two options. Okay, so in this top left hand corner of this little box that appears for the widget, you can see that there are two options, and we've got the content option and we've got the design option. Every widget has these two options. Now for each widget, the content features available and the design features available will vary. Because obviously different widgets will have different functionalities and will be customizable in different ways. Okay, so the content tab basically contains everything that's going to make your widget work. Okay, so obviously with the button, I can link it to an existing page on the website, or I can link it to one of these other options. I can obviously then change the text on the button, so that's basically how the widget's going to work. And then if I obviously go into the design tab, I can then choose how that widget is going to look in the website. So I can change the colour, I can change the text style, I can add hover effects to it, I can change the layout of the button and how it's going to look, and so on. So there's so many different options for widgets that you can customize them to make them look exactly how you want to. Okay, so that's basically how that widget works. Okay, so you go into the widgets tab and you can drag it in accordingly. Okay, so for the widgets, if I right click on them, it also brings up, that hasn't done it very well, so let me just show you, so I can show you the whole list. So if I click on the button, if I left click on it, it will just bring up this button content again, so it will bring up the widget content. So that works the same for all widgets. I simply just click on it and it will bring this back up. Or if I right click on it, I've got some more options as well. So I've got the edit content and design there as an option as well. I can choose how I'm going to align that widget on the page. I can choose how that widget is going to appear on the page. So you've got different entrance animations. So as somebody scrolls down, the widget can appear in different ways. I can go to the link of the widget, so just make sure that works. Again, I can do that in preview as well. I can copy a widget, so if I just click that copy button there, and I want to paste that widget somewhere else on the page, so I want it to paste it here as well. I just right click where I want to paste it, I select paste, and you can see that it's dropped in that row. And then if I just want to move that button around, let me just refresh that page, bear with me. I just had to refresh the page because that widget wasn't being overly responsive. So if you do have any issues in terms of widget responsiveness or anything like that in the editor, just refresh the page and it literally fixes it straight away, so it's nothing to worry about. So if I just go back to where I copied and pasted that widget, you can see now that that's been more responsive. So I can just drag it to where I want to place it. You can see that if I hover over the widget, I've got some different handles in the corner, so I can use these handles to just move the widget where I want it to go. I've also got this little blue handle in the bottom right hand corner, and this just means I can make the widget bigger and smaller, and that's again it works the same for all widgets. And if I choose I want to delete the widget, then obviously I've got that little red see it deletes the widget. So if I just go back up to this one, and I just right click on it again. Oh. So obviously that was the copy and paste functionality. I can hide a widget on a device, so I can hide it if I wanted a button to only appear on the mobile. I could hide it on the desktop and tablet. I can set a widget as an anchor point, and this works the same for rows as well. So basically what an anchor point is it's a point on the page that you can contain within the navigation but not have it as a separate page. Okay, so how an anchor point works is basically, say I wanted to make this bit an anchor point for the home page. I would simply go to where I want the anchor point to go. So on this row, for example, I would set it as an anchor. I might call it hello. I want to add it to the site navigation. You can see that now has appeared up there in the navigation. And then obviously I would just go back to my pages option, and I wanted it to be a sub page to my home page. So I would just drop it in there. And you can see now if I hover over that page there, I've got, in the navigation, I've got my little hello option. And if I just click that, it takes me to that point on the page. So that's basically how an anchor point works. Let me just rejig that little top section up there so it fits a little bit nicer. So that's basically how an anchor point works, and you've got those for widgets and rows. So if I right click on that again, you can also see that I can delete that widget there as well. So I can just select that and it removes that widget that I've just added. So that works exactly the same for all widgets. You can drag and drop it in. You've got the content and design tab, and then also if you right click, you've got those other list of features available to you as well. Okay, and if you go onto the little row tab in the corner, you can see that you've got very similar features to the widgets. Okay, so you can obviously edit the design, you can edit how it appears on screen, and so on, but I'm going to come back to that in a little while. Okay, so that's the end of the little topic of the widgets. Obviously, I can't go through and show you how each widget works. So my advice would be, once you get onto your website editor and you're ready to have a go, you could create a new blank page on your website by going to Pages and Add New Page and add a blank page to your website. You can then, I'll show you basically how I would do this. So go to New Page, add a blank page, call it, for instance, Practice. You can add that page in. Obviously at the moment that's going to appear up here in the navigation, but we don't want people to be able to access that page. So just scroll down, you can go to the little cog icon on that page and you can hide in navigation and hide on all. So now you've got this page then to completely practice with. Nobody else will be able to see it, just you. And you can then just have a go at dragging the different widgets in, seeing how they work, seeing what content features and design features they have, and then just learn it at your own pace. What I will say for the website editor is that it is very hands-on learning. Obviously I can give you an overview today so you've got a better understanding of the editor, but the way that you'll really start to learn how to use it is by a hands-on approach and going in and just having a go yourself and seeing how you get on, really. And that's really how you'll start to pick up different things you can do, and the more and more you use the editor system, the better you'll get at creating and editing your website. Okay, so just creating that practice page just gives you the opportunity to edit your website, but just practice, so you're not going to affect any of the pages, none of your customers are going to be able to see it, and you can just test all the different features and functionalities. Okay, so moving on, if I just go back to my home page, we've got the content tab. Now I'm not going to go through this at the minute because this content tab is what we use more so when we are setting up a website from scratch. So obviously your website will already be built by one of our team, and basically you will obviously just want to edit it. So this content tab won't matter too much to you as we will have already set that up. So I'm not going to go through that. We've then got a personalised tab. Now I'm not going to go through this at the minute. I'm going to come back to this as the last part of the training, as I think it's a really valuable part of the training, as it's one of our unique selling points for our websites and what makes them really unique and a great benefit to you and your business. Okay, so it's how you can tailor your website to your customers based on specific triggers and attributes. Okay, so I'm going to come back to that a little bit later on, so just keep that at the back of your mind for now. We've also obviously got this store button here, and this is basically how you would add a store to your website. Now I'm not going to go through this now because the store system is quite a complex system by itself, and it does have its own little unique editor system which can be quite more in depth to use, shall I say. So if there is a need where you want to add a store to your website, or you have a store on your website and you do want to be trained on how you can use that, then just let one of our team know and we can give a separate training session on using that store. Okay, but for the purpose of this brief overview training, obviously I'm not going to go through that now, as it might not even appeal to everybody. But if you do have an online store or you want to add an online store, then just get in touch with one of the team and we can help you with that. Okay, we've also got the blog option here. Now the blog has its own little editor system, however it is a lot more straightforward and a lot more user friendly. Okay, so it's going to be a lot more easy for you to set up on your own. Okay, the store is user friendly once it's all set up, but you will need a bit more of an in-depth training on how to use that, whereas the blog is more straightforward and something that you may be able to figure out on your own. Now obviously this website that I'm just showing you as an example has already got a blog added, so on your website, if you haven't got a blog, you may see that when you click on that tab it just says add blog at the top, and you click on that and it will basically just talk you through how you can add that blog and how you can add posts, etc. Okay, so you can see now though, however, when I've got a blog already set up, I can just add a new post, I can manage my blog posts, I can change the blog settings and edit the post design. So all of those are quite self-explanatory and it will work very similar to how the rest of the editor system works. So you'll just obviously then be able to go through that. But if anything does confuse you, then again, please just get in touch with one of the team and we can talk through that blog system with you and help you add a blog if that is something you are after. Okay, and then lastly on this little sidebar we've got our settings tab. So if I just select that, you can see that we've got a range of different settings available here, and these are just going to be the settings for your website. There might not be too much in here that you have to worry about. You can see that you've got the option to add nice little design features to make your site look a little bit more professional. You can add a fav icon. A fav icon is basically, if you look up here where I've got my tab here for my multi-screen editor, you can see that this little image here, which looks like 3 little devices, that's basically a fav icon. So if you added one in there, it could be a small part of your company logo or something that links to your branding, and that will just display in there. So you can just add that in. You've also got some other different images as well that you can add in. You can see that on the settings tab there's a little description for what each one of those are. So if you wanted to just go through the different settings options here at the side, you'll see that you can just read the little descriptions, and it will kind of tell you what that setting is and what functionality it may have on your website. So again, when you get a chance in your own time, if you just want to go through and have a look at all these different settings, then please feel free. Okay, so we've obviously got our site icons, we've got our site URL, so once the site has gone live, the URL will be featured in there. You've got your SEO, but this is SEO for the overall site. Now, you may notice that we have already put in the SEO for the overall site anyway, so you don't need to worry about that too much. However, because we can do individual pages SEO as well, that overwrites this overall website SEO anyway, so it's not something you need to worry about too much. You've got Google Analytics, so if you do have a Google Analytics account and you do want to add a tracking code, obviously that will be supplied to you through your Google Analytics account, and you can just add it in there, and that will just help track your website performance if you didn't want to use the in-website stats and you wanted something a little bit more comprehensive. You've got backup sites, as I mentioned earlier, you've got your site languages, and you've got your cookie notifications as well. And obviously it is EU law now that cookie notifications are enabled on websites, so you will see that when we activate your site and we put that live, we will activate those cookie notifications anyway. Okay, so that's basically that. So I'm just going to show you a little bit more about the website editor itself. So as you can see, as I hover over different little aspects of the website, they will highlight, and in the editor you'll see that as they highlight, a box might come around them, or you will see something will happen. Okay, and that just means I can click there and I can edit that. Okay, so I can retype things, I can click on something and change the design features of it. I can obviously edit the rows. So I can pretty much click on anything within the website, whatever it may be within this little website editor, and it will allow me to change it. So I can change the backgrounds of things and all sorts. So it is really, really simple and user friendly, and very, very straightforward to edit once you start to get your head around the system. Okay, so literally anything you click on, you will be able to edit. Now I'm just going to talk you through the way that the site is built. So as you can see, if I hover over this top section here, we've got an orange tab that appears that is called header, and if I scroll down to the bottom, if I hover over this, you can see that an orange tab appears here at the bottom that says footer. So if I just scroll down, anything that is contained within that section that says header or footer is basically going to be exactly the same for all of the pages on the website. Okay, so if I change the address on this footer on this page, for example, whatever page I go to within the website, that footer is preset and will stay the same on those other pages. So if I just go onto the Our Company page, you can see that the address is still changed there. Okay, so the header and the footer are the only things that stay exactly the same throughout every page on the website. Okay. Other than that, the website then is made up of rows and columns. Okay, so if I hover over this top section, you can see that it's a row. And if I go down here, you can see that we've got a row here, but it's split into 3 sections, and these 3 sections are what we call columns. Okay, so I'm just going to show you. So say I wanted to add in a new row, and I want to add it here above this digital marketing services row. How I would go about that? If I want to add that above that row, I have to click on the row tab for the digital marketing services row, and I will simply then go down to add row, and I can add that in there, and you can see now that that's added a row above. Okay, so that's my new row that's just been created in there. I may then want to split that row into two. So obviously at the moment I can just put a widget there and then I can put a widget underneath. But if I want two widgets or two designs next to each other, I can then go into the row tab for my new row that I've created, and I can add a column. And you can see now that 2 columns have now been added to that row. And you can add up to 4 columns on a row, depending what you want to do. So you can have different layouts. You could have icons and text, icon text. You could have image, text, icon. You could have text, image, text. So you can just really design it how you want to. So I'm just going to have my 2 columns. Obviously then I can edit the design of the row, so if I just click on the little blue row tab again, if I just go to edit design, I might want to add a background image to the row. So obviously at the moment we've just got the standard background colour of white, so I can add a different background colour if I want to. So I could make that blue, or I may want to add a background image. Or with rows and columns, you can also add a background video. So you can enter a YouTube URL in there and it will just play that video in the background of whatever it is that you're doing. Okay, but for this instance, I'm just going to add a background image. Okay, so this is, while I'm here, I'll show you how the image picker works. So this is what we call the image picker, and you can see that we've got a few different images there that are already on the website. But if I just click on this bit here, which says full view, you can see that it takes me into a larger version of the image picker. And this might just be a little bit easier for you to navigate. So obviously up here we've got the option to upload images. We've also got here some free images that we can use. Obviously you can't just go into Google and take an image off Google for copyright reasons. So we do have some built-in free images that you can use as well, and they're all royalty free and have no copyright or legal issues associated with them. Okay, so I can also search for an image in the top. So say you were doing a website, or your website was for a music school. You can type in piano, you can search for it, and you can see results for piano, and at the moment we've got in all images. But I can also just go down to free images there, and you can see now that it's just brought up a whole list of royalty free images that I can use in there. If you don't want images, if you go up to this top bit here where it says images, you can also have textures as well. So obviously there may not be a piano texture, but if you just wanted something in black, for instance, if I just type that black in there and I have texture selected, you can see that there's a few different backgrounds that you can use as well, that are more patterns than images. Okay, so I'm just going to get rid of that search result there, and I'm just going to go back to images. So I want to add a mobile as my background, for instance. So I'm just going to do that, and I'm going to select free images in there. So I want this now, I'm going to choose this one for example, so I'm going to want that to be my background image, so I just select that, and once I'm happy I can press done. I can select a few more and have the images sliding across in the background, but at the moment I'm just happy with that one specific image. If you do want the slider, just carry on selecting images, and you can see that they will just appear in there. When you press done, it will just slide those images across in the row. Okay, and if you just want to unselect them, just press the little tick button, and then I'm just going to press done. So that's just obviously going to import that image there into my background. I can change where that background image is going to sit, so I can make it more central. I can move it to the side, I can move it up, I can have it as a full image, I can have it as a tile, so you can basically just move it around and see how you get on. And you can also have parallax scrolling. So if I haven't got parallax scrolling set, then you can see that image there just stays completely static. If I select this option for paragraph scrolling, it just creates a nice scrolling effect as I scroll down the website, and it might just mean that you can then see that full image. Okay. I also am going to add text and stuff over this image. So you may be wondering, if I add text, it might not be as visible. So I can basically add a background overlay onto this row. Okay, so I'm just going to select that, and then it will ask me what overlay colour I want. So I'm just going to go for black. And you can see now that it's added like a black overlay. And at the moment we've got 50% transparency. If I just decrease that transparency and go up to 83, for example, you can see that gets a lot darker, and you can see that image behind a lot less. So I'm just going to set that probably about 65. Okay. So you can see now that we've designed that row how we want to, so we can start then adding widgets. So we've got our 2 columns where we can add different widgets to. So on this one side, I might want to add an icon. Now hopefully as I hover over that, it will let me. It's not going to let me now. There we go. So you can see now that it's highlighted that section there in blue. Well, it had done. There we go. So I can just insert my icon into that column there. I can then choose what icon I want. So for instance, I may want to do a sign up little row so people can sign up to my service. So I'm just going to select this little email thing. Email icon. I'm just going to change that icon colour to white. I'm just going to decrease the size of it to 100. There we go. So you can see I've added that widget in there. Now it's having that little glitch again, so I'm just going to refresh my page. You may come across little issues like that, but like you'll see, if you just refresh the page, it will just sort it out, so you don't need to worry too much. The system is pretty responsive in that sense. Okay, so if I just go down to where I was just creating that row. Okay, so then I'm just going to add some text into the column next to it. Okay, so I'm going to add my text in there from my widgets. So I'm just going to say, sign up to okay, so I'm just going to write that in there. I may want to change the font of that. So if I just scroll down, I'm just going to enlarge it. I don't think I want it that big. And then I might just centralize that. Okay, again, I'm having that little glitch issue, so again, I'm just going to refresh. That probably won't happen on yours. I think it's just the version of Chrome that I'm running at the moment. It's playing up a little bit, but I think it will probably be fine on your website editor. So don't worry too much. But if you do come across that issue at any point, just refresh it, and you can see that now appears in there. So then I'm just going to add a contact form in so they can sign up. And then I can customize my contact form so I can make sure it submits to the right place. So I just go on submission recipients, and then I would just type in the email address that I wanted to go to. So obviously that would be your email address in there. I can then change some other features, so I can change the fields on my contact form. So if it's just to sign up for a newsletter, I may not want message, I may just want name and email. So I'm just going to remove them. I can go in, change the field size, so it just makes them a little bit bigger. Obviously I'm not expecting you to keep up with all this as I go through it now, because obviously it is a little bit complex to try and keep up with all this. But as you start to use the different widgets, like I said, the more you practice with them, the more you will get to grips with what you can do. Okay, so obviously this is just an example, so I've set my email form up there. Obviously it's my rows looking a little bit top heavy at the moment, so I'm just going to bring that over to this column, rejig that a little bit, center align it, and there we go. So once I'm happy with the design that I have now set for my row, I'm just going to move that down a little bit. So as I said, once I'm happy with the design for my row, I may want to feature that sign up form somewhere else on my website. Okay, so I'm just going to, I want to copy that row and put it onto another page. Now you may think, oh, I don't really want to have to rebuild that whole page on another, that whole row on another page of my website. So you just simply go into the little row tab here at the side. You can go down to copy. Then you can choose what page you want it to go on. So I'm just going to add it to the company page. Okay, so I may just want to just add it in here above Meet Our Team. So I'm just going to click on the Meet Our Team row because I want it appear above there. And then obviously I just press paste. And you can see now that that row has appeared in there. But I may decide that I don't like the placement of it. So I may go into my little blue row tab again. And you can see here we've got some little arrows, so I can move the row up or down. So if I just select up, you can see now that it's moved it above that other row on the website, so it's just replaced that row. Okay, so hopefully that makes a little bit of sense to you. Obviously I went through some more specific little bits there, but it will work the same for all of your rows and all of your widgets. So don't be too overwhelmed. Like I said, once you start having a go yourself, you will start to pick up these things yourself. Okay, so lastly, I'm just going to come back onto this personalised tab, which I mentioned earlier. Okay, so if I just select that, it then brings up this option here for website personalisation. And it's something that we sometimes call intelligent websites, as it makes your website more intelligent and user responsive. Or you may hear us call it dynamic website personalization, because again it does make your website more personal to the end user and more dynamic in its functionality. Okay, so you can see here that we've got an option here where it says add new rule. And what this rule means is you're setting up a trigger that happens when a specific group of people come onto your website. So you can tailor specific marketing, I'm not sure what the word would be, but pop-ups or rows. You can trigger specific things on your website to happen when customers come onto your website with specific attributes. Okay, so you can trigger those rules based on different customer attributes. Okay, so when you click on new rule, you'll see that this option here comes up. Okay, and you can see that we've got a few different options in there. We've got the option to build our own from scratch. We can add a pop-up, we can add a new row, or we can add a notification bar. Now what I would recommend is, as you can see, as you scroll down, you'll see that we've got these little options here where it says preview rule, and that appears under each of the different options. Now this basically just means that you can preview what that rule is going to look like, so you get a better understanding of what you're creating. Okay, so again, what I would recommend is when you get into your website editor, just go through those and preview each of the different rules, and it will help you get a better understanding of what they can do and how they can aid you and your business. Or if you're selling a website, one of our websites, somebody, obviously it will teach you how you can use this dynamic website personalization to aid the sales process, because it is a really unique selling point and it is really valuable to have in your website, as it will help business owners increase conversions and leads. Okay, so let me just have a drink, bear with me. Okay, so you can see that we've got the option here for a pop-up. Now you may recognise what a pop-up is, we've all seen them on a website at some point. We've got the option here for a blank row, and what this basically does is it creates a new row on your website depending on a specific trigger. Okay, so an example of this might be if somebody comes to your website on a Wednesday, for instance, you may want to set up a row that appears only on a Wednesday on your website that advertises your Wednesday quiz night. For example, if you work for a pub or restaurant or something similar. Okay, so if somebody comes onto the website, a new row will appear on that website that just has the details for that. Okay, so it's a little bit less obstructive than a pop-up and a little bit more subtle. Okay, we've also got here the option for a notification bar. You may have seen a notification bar before in the style of cookies. So if you go onto a website, you may see a bar at the top that just says to view this site, activate cookies or something similar to that. And that's basically what a notification bar is. So if you've got a coupon code or there's something that you want to notify somebody about, so they get free delivery up until the end of Tuesday, for example, you might just want a notification bar to appear at the top just to inform them of that. Okay, so I'm just going to talk you through the pop-up, as this seems to be the most well-recognised version of these intelligent websites. So if I just select this rule, you will see that we can start to edit that rule, or it will give us some similar rules. So it will give us some templated pop-ups that have already been created for specific purposes that we may want to use within our website. But I'm just going to show you how we're going to create one from scratch. So if I just go to edit rule. Okay, so we've got here, you can see at the top it says your rule, and at the moment it says if the visitor comes to the site, show a pop-up. Okay, so that's how it starts off. So if somebody comes to our website currently, a pop-up will show. But we want it to be a little bit more tailored and specific than that. Okay, so we're going to want to trigger this pop-up based on specific customer attributes. Okay, so if I just scroll down, here you can see I can add a trigger. And you can see here it says a trigger is what causes your rule to be displayed. Okay, so we've got some different triggers here available. You can see at the moment that we've got this option ticked, which is display to all visitors, so there's no triggers. But obviously we do want to make it a little bit more specific. So we've got here device. So firstly, we can trigger our pop-up based on device, okay? So the way that this might work is you may want to trigger a pop-up to mobile users specifically. So you can select device and then click mobile device, and it will mean that if somebody comes to your website using a mobile device, a pop-up will display to them. However, if somebody comes to your site via a desktop, the pop-up won't display to them. Okay, so you can display a pop-up based on device. You've got location. So this basically means if somebody comes to your website within a certain location or certain mile radius that you have preset, a pop-up will display. So an example of how this may work is if you are in the London area, for example. So say you are a restaurant in the London area and you want to appeal to people within a certain mile radius of your website. Okay, so if somebody comes to the website and they're in that specific mile radius that you have set, whether it be 5 or 10 miles, for example, a pop-up might display to them and say, you are only 5 miles away from us, why don't you come down for lunch or something, we're only down the road, or something similar. Okay, so that might encourage a user in your area. They might think, oh, we're not far, we'll come down then. Okay, so that's basically how that works. So you'll set the location that you want it to target, and then any visitors that come to your website within that specified location, obviously they will get notified that you are nearby. We've then got time. So this basically works if you can set a specific time. So if a visitor comes to the website within a time that you have set, you can display a pop-up to them. An example of how this might work is, say you are a pub and you have a happy hour every day between 3 and 4. You can set the time on your website so that between 3 and 4, if somebody comes to the website within that time frame, a pop-up will appear that says, it is currently our happy hour. Come down to the site for half-price drinks, or something similar. Okay, obviously these are just examples, but that's basically how the time trigger works. So you set the time, and then anybody that comes to the site within that time will get the trigger. You've then got visits. So basically how this works is it will trigger the pop-up depending on how many times that user has visited your site. Okay, so you may create a pop-up for a first-time visitor. Okay, so if somebody visits your site for the first time based on their unique IP address, for example, they will get a pop-up that displays to them that says, you could set one that says, welcome to our website. Because you're a first-time visitor, feel free to use our special offer code, and then obviously you could supply them with a code on the pop-up. Okay. However, you may want to advertise to a third-time visitor to the website, and the way that this works is you could create a pop-up for a newsletter registration sign-up form. So if somebody comes to the site for the third time, you can set it to trigger that pop-up that says something similar to, we can see that you have visited the site a few times, perhaps you're interested in signing up to our newsletter to obviously stay up to date with latest offers and news. And obviously that way then you can start to build a contact list with within your CRM or something similar, and build up that contact list you've got, or you can obviously keep that user engaged with your newsletters and further offers or information. Okay, and then you've got lastly the campaign URL. So this means that the pop-up is triggered based on the URL that the visitor to the site has come from. Okay. So that's basically how the triggers work. So I'm just going to show you an example today. So I'm just going to do an example based on time. Okay, so I'm just going to select that, and then I'm going to go to next. Okay, so you can see now that the rule above has now changed. Oh, it's gone next too far, so I'm just going to go back. Okay, so you can see now that the rule up here has changed, okay? So now it says, if the visitor comes to the site on the September 21st, 2017, show a pop-up. So obviously it's put today's date in there. So if I was just to leave it at that, obviously this pop-up would appear if somebody came onto the website today, but tomorrow, obviously that pop-up would not trigger. Okay, so I don't want it to be that specific. So I want it to be daily. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a pop-up that appears if somebody goes onto the contact us page of the website and it's out of office hours. I want a pop-up to appear to them to say, our office lines are currently closed, but if you want to leave us a message, we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Okay, so I want that to reoccur daily. Okay, so every time that's not in office hours, every day, I want it to show a pop-up. Okay, so now you can see that my rule has changed. So if the visitor comes to the site every day, show a pop-up. But I want to make that a little bit more time specific. So I'm just going to go back to here where it says event details. Okay, so then I don't want it to be all day because obviously I want to just set it at a specific time. So I'm going to untick that all day button and I'm going to set the start time. So say my office closes at 5 PM. I'm just going to select 5 PM as my start time. And then it's going to reopen again in the morning at 9 AM. So I'm just going to select 9 AM as my end time. So my pop-up will start to appear if somebody visits the site after 5 PM, and then it will stop appearing if somebody visits the site after 9 AM. Okay, so you can see now that my rule again has changed. So it says if the visitor comes to the site between 5 PM and 9 AM every day, show a pop-up. So that's basically what I want to happen. So I'm happy with that now. So I'm just going to click next. Okay, so then obviously I want it to appear on the contact us page. So I can choose what page I want the pop-up to display on. So I'm just going to scroll down to contact. So that's the page now that is going to appear on. And I can decide whether I want that to appear immediately when somebody goes onto the contact page or after a certain amount of seconds. Now with pop-ups, I always do it after a certain amount of seconds. Now I wouldn't do this if it was a row or a notification bar, but I don't know about you, but if I go onto a website and the first thing that happens is a pop-up appears, I immediately just press the little X button. Now that's probably not me there being the best advertisement there for pop-ups. However, pop-ups can be really effective if they are used correctly. Okay, but what I mean by that is I don't want to go onto the site and the first thing that happens before I've even been able to look at the first page of the website is I am bombarded with a pop-up, because it can be quite obstructive. Okay, so I would just X that just so I can start to get a feel for the website and have a little read and settle onto the page. However, if you get that pop-up to appear after 20, 30 seconds or even after 10 seconds, then it just gives the user a chance to get onto the web page, have a little read of the content, see what the website is about, settle in, and then when that pop-up does appear, that user is a lot more likely to pay attention to it. Okay, and the more likely they are to pay attention to it, the more likely you're going to get a lead, a conversion, or be able to build your contact list. Okay, so that's why I would always do it after a certain amount of seconds. Obviously with a row or a notification bar, as I said, you may want to just do that immediately because it is a lot less obstructive and it's a lot more subtle on the page, and it won't aggravate your user as soon as they get onto the page, whereas a pop-up might. So if you do it after a certain amount of time, it just gives that user a chance to have a look, settle in, and then they will be a lot less annoyed by the pop-up when it does appear, and a lot more likely to take notice. Okay, so I'm happy with that now. So if I just click next, this is now where I can edit my pop-up. Okay, so you can see here that I've got my pop-up set up, and obviously it's just a blank standard pop-up. So this basically works exactly the same way as the normal website editor. So I would just rename my pop-up. So obviously I can click on anything, and I can change the title. I can then change the description. Okay, so I'm happy with that description. So then obviously I want to add a widget, and I want to add my contact form so the user can get in touch. So again, I just drag and drop that widget where I want it to go, if it will play nice. There we go, so I want it to go in there. Okay, now it's cutting off some of my pop-up there, so I'm just going to make the pop-up a little bit bigger with the little handle there again in the right hand corner. So if I just scroll down, I obviously don't want this button on here, so I can remove that. So you can see now that that pop-up is there. I can click on this little option here, which is my pop-up settings, and I can edit the design of the pop-up as well. Okay, so I can edit the background, I can add a background image or video similar to the other ones, I can change the colours of the text, I can change the design of the contact form, I can change the button colour, I can decide where I want that to be submitted to, and all that kind of stuff. And then again, I can also check it on my tablet and mobile version as well, just to make sure that it looks fine on those devices also. Okay, so once I've designed that pop-up and I'm happy with it, I would then just press done. So I'm just going to press the done button up here. Okay, and then this just takes me to this final screen here. So I can name my pop-up, so I'm just going to call it Out of Office. Okay, I can choose whether I want to display that rule once per visitor. So if it was a first time visitor, you may want to obviously tick that. However, if it is something like this, I want it to display to the same visitor if they go onto the contact page again on another day out of the office hours. So I'm just going to leave that unticked. I can preview that rule to see what it's going to look like live, and then I can save that rule. And then obviously if I'm happy for that to go live, obviously I would just press my republish button up here at the top. Okay, so that's basically how we created our pop-up. And if I go back into this personalize tab here at the side, you can see that our pop-up now is in there. So I've got this little play icon here, so I can preview that. Or I've got this little cog icon similar to the pages, where I can click on that and then I can rename it. I can edit it, so I can edit the trigger and the action. I can edit the design for the pop-up as well. So if I want to change how my pop-up works or how it looks, I can do that in there. I can deactivate it. So if you've got a pop-up that is quite seasonal, so say you've got one at Christmas time, and you want to be able to use that pop-up next year and you don't want to have to delete it and recreate it, you can simply just deactivate it. and then it will stop it from working, and then when you get to that festive period again, you can just obviously then reactivate it and that will start to work. You can then preview the pop-up as well. Again, it's another way to have a look at it and just check it's going to look fine, and just check the functionality all works fine. You can duplicate it, so if you want to have the same pop-up but you want to edit the trigger or you want to edit the design, you can obviously just duplicate that, similar to how we do with the pages, or of course you can delete it as well. So if you are no longer wanting to use that pop-up, you can then just delete it. Okay. So again, like I said, it doesn't have to just be pop-ups. You can have a blank row, and if I just preview how that works, it will just show you. So you can see this is sort of the page of the website, and then it will just add in that new row. Okay, so when you're doing that, so when you get a chance, like I said, just go through and have a little preview of the different rules, and see how you get on with those. Okay, so that's basically how that works. I think that's everything that I need to cover in that section. So I'm going to give you a little homework task. Now don't worry, it's not like you're back at school, there's not going to be any deadlines, and you certainly won't be put in detention if you don't do it. In your own time, what I want you to do is just have a go at creating a pop-up. I do think that every website should have a personalisation thing of some sort, whether it's rows, pop-ups, notification bars. So when you get a chance, just go in, have a go at creating one that links to your business and it's going to be beneficial for you, and getting your customer links or customer retention or leads, anything like that. Have a go at creating one that's going to be beneficial to your business, and then once you have, if you want to just get in touch with one of the team, we can then help you have a look through it, help you with any questions or queries that you've come across along the way, and just help you develop that pop-up a little bit further if you need to. Okay, I'm saying pop-up, but it doesn't have to be a pop-up. It can be a row or a notification bar as well. So just create one that's going to be useful to you. So yeah, once you've done that, obviously just get in touch with one of the team and we're happy to go through that with you. The same goes for anything on the website. As you start to go through and have a go at the editor now, after this video, obviously do it in your own time, but once you've had a little go yourself, you'll start to come across things that you're unsure about, or questions might start to develop. So as you go through, if you want to just make a note of any questions or queries you have, and then feel free to get in touch with us, and we can then obviously help solve those specific questions or queries that you personally might have. Okay, so I'm going to leave you to it now to go away and have a go yourself. We are only a phone call away, or just drop us an email and we will be happy to help with any further questions or queries you have. Okay, so I hope you creating a pop-up will go. I keep saying pop-up, I'm sorry, I don't mean to say pop-up. I hope creating your personalised dynamic website personalisation goes well, and I'm hopefully it will be really beneficial to you and your website, and make you stand out against competitors. So if you do have any questions, like I said, just get in touch. I hope this web training has been somewhat useful to you. I know it can all be a little bit overwhelming. However, obviously, like I said, once you start going in and having a go, it is a really straightforward and user-friendly system to use, and you will really start to get your head around it. So I hope this has been useful, and I'm sure I'll speak to you soon. Thank you, and bye-bye.